Number 3. There's a path that goes through several neighborhoods that are kind of densely wooded yet somehow heavily populated. My friend Aaron lives about 3 neighborhoods over through those sections of woods and developments. I was going to visit him one late afternoon, and I began walking through one of the paths near the houses in the woods. Between many of the woods, you could see several of the houses. And sometimes when you saw the houses, you could see patches of wood. It was late afternoon, but it was much closer to sunset than I thought. In fact, it probably actually was sunset when I left my house, but I somehow told myself and convinced myself it was late afternoon. I was walking down the path. I heard the leaves crunch under my feet. Some candy wrappers that I crunched on too. And I kept walking. There was an eerie stillness to the air, yet it was somehow slightly windy. But out of the corner of my ear, I heard a rustling in the bushes nearby me. What could it be? I looked and I saw it had 2 shiny eyes and was about up to my ankle or so. I heard a faint meow, and I booked and ran as quickly as I could back to my house, where I ran in the door, shut it behind me, locked it. The rest of that evening I ate corn nuts and tried to read. From then on, I never go for a walk in late afternoon or sunset or, late afternoon. Well, now I don't go out at sunset, but I still take walks at late afternoon. Oh, no, that's right. We don't, no. No, it's late afternoon. We don't walk, but sunset. Anyways. Number 2. I live in an apartment complex with many units. The layout of my apartment is probably just like the one of my neighbor next door. My neighbor next door was a middle-aged, pudgy, bald guy who didn't seem to have a lot of friends or a lot of company. But neither did I, really. It was actually very quiet on our floor. In fact, I think we were the only 2 people that lived on our floor, which made sense considering there are actually only 2 apartment units on the top floor. Anyways, I could hear his TV blaring loudly. He preferred MASH reruns and Gilligan's Island, I think. He would play it rather loudly, but I didn't mind it. There was a musicality to those shows that somehow soothed me. Anyway, one strange evening, he wasn't watching his favorite shows. He was trying to cook something. I could hear him yelling and banging around in his kitchen, frustrated and knocking things over. Finally, things went silent. I heard his footsteps. I heard his door open and close and slam behind it. Then I heard his footsteps come to my door. I heard a knock. Well, I opened the door. Hey, Ed, how you doing? Well, he said he was fine, but he had a problem. He wondered if I could help him. I said, maybe. What's wrong? He held up an open-top ramen package. In it, he said there was no flavor packet. He was going to try to make some top ramen instant noodles, but the package didn't come with a flavor package. I could see his face turning red with frustration. He asked if I had any top ramen. I could help him out. I wasn't sure, but I went back into my kitchen. Opened my cupboard and I saw that I did in fact have one top ramen package. Chicken flavor, actually. I walked back to the door and I I showed it to him. Yeah, I have a top ramen package. I think it's chicken. He said, well, I'm wondering, could you just give me the flavor packet out of it? I looked down at my top ramen package, and I looked back up to him. We both realized the same thing at the same time. We both realized that, well, I had to say it, and I said it quietly to him. If I give you my flavor packet out of my top ramen instant noodle package, then I'm not going to have a flavor packet for my top ramen. We both looked at each other. You could cut the air with the silence. The air was still, yet there was a wind howling outside my window. We looked at each other what seemed like for hours. It was really just about a half an hour, I think. Finally I said, oh yeah, you can have it. I don't really like top ramen anyway. Thanks. Look, you can have the noodles too, because what am I going to do with them? It's, well, no, you can keep the noodles. We had a small argument for a few moments. Finally he agreed to take the noodles and the package and just say, okay. I heard him mutter something about that's not going to be enough flavor for 2 packages of noodles. I reminded him he didn't actually have to cook all the noodles. Or he could use soy sauce if it wasn't flavorful enough. We both closed the doors quietly behind each other. After that, I never ate top ramen again. Number 1. This story is told from a female's perspective. When I was growing up, I lived with my mother, my father, and my sister's father. See, my sister's father was my mother's husband before the divorce, but he had refused to leave after the divorce, so he lived with us, along with 2 of other children from his previous marriage. My father had also had 2 twin daughters from a previous marriage as well. We also lived with my uncle, my mother's mother, which I called Grandma. Needless to say, it was a bit of a busy household. In fact, we lived in a studio apartment, so there was very little breathing room. To find a little space for myself, I often went walking through the neighborhoods down into the vast woods that lay just beyond our housing complex. This time going out for that walk, I decided to bring my backpack and a small ham sandwich. It's about 3 blocks until you find the edge of the woods where there's a small bench where you can sit. For me, that's a long distance, so bringing a lunch and a backpack seemed like a good idea. I'm used to sitting all day on the couch, eating potato chips and watching reruns. So 3 blocks is a long way for me. My mother keeps telling me I'm 38 and I ought to either go to school or get a job. Needless to say, it's always a great feeling of relief and freedom when I can take the 3-block hike to the edge of town to the woods, where I can sit and eat my ham sandwich in peace. I had gotten just to the edge of the last of the 3 blocks where there's a house on the corner. Heading off beyond it is the woods, and you can see the bench where I like to sit and watch the chipmunks. I was walking past this last house on the corner when out of the corner of my eye, I saw a strange, brightly colored object in the grass. Now, in this neighborhood, the lawns aren't all cut neatly like you often see on television. Some people have patches of wild grass and weeds all over their lawns in this neighborhood. So you can potentially hide things on the edge of your lawn. So I saw the strange, brightly colored object, and I couldn't help but bend down and try to see what it is, on the corner of the property of the last house on the neighborhood. I picked it up, and I saw that it was a brightly colored, looked like what was a chicken egg, but it had colors on it. It was all painted. It seemed curious, so I opened my backpack and put it in. I went a few steps further, and I found another one, deeper in some deeper grass. A different color, bright blue, with a little bunny rabbit sticker on it. It seemed hollow, like the insides of the egg, the yolk and the white had been taken out. I put it in my backpack as well. As I looked, I found more and more of them. In fact, even plastic ones that seemed to have jelly beans or little chocolates inside. I gathered up as many as I could find, and just beyond, at the edge of the corner, behind a small tree, was a little tricycle. It looked brand new. It seemed strange to be right on the edge of their property next to this tree. So I picked it up. It was small, it was for a child, so it was light. Then I noticed the sun was going down, and I thought, well, this is enough adventure for today. I think I'll go home. I hadn't even eaten my ham sandwich, but I thought I could have it for dinner. I had all these strange eggs colored of different colors in my backpack, and I had this tricycle under my arm, and I started walking backwards back towards my house up the hill. I got to the top of the hill, and I heard these voices, strange voices behind me, coming from the house on the corner. It seemed to be a little boy crying and a mother sounding confused. I heard her say, "Someone has taken something. Someone," I couldn't quite hear the words, but the voices freaked me out. So I started running back to my house as fast as I could. I ran into my door, ran into my bedroom, put the backpack and the strange eggs and the tricycle in my room. I waited for some time before I was able to reemerge from my bedroom, which I shared with my sisters and my uncle and my other sister's father's children, along with 2 hamsters and a frog. I came out, and Grandma yelled at me, "Happy Easter." Hi folks, Stinky Dumpling here. Thanks for joining me for Stupid Scary Stories. Be sure to follow me on Twitter, but not too closely, I get really paranoid. And consider giving me a donation to my PayPal account. Like a lot of money, Like give me anyways. Well, thanks for joining me, and remember, if it's dark out, it's probably nighttime.